What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scyushi and we are back again some more Genshin Impact. Today we're going to be talking about the new 4-star character, Collei. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but hey, whatever. So for those of you that just want the information in the Ascension guide, there it is right up there. It shows all the information of all the mats that you're going to end up needing for her. And those of you that want to end up continuing into the video, I'll end up showing you all of her abilities and talk about what their effects are going to end up being, because she actually seems like a pretty interesting character. Now, the Sumeru update is scheduled for this month on the 24th, so August 24th, and the character banners that we're going to end up seeing will actually end up being Tighnari, who's going to end up being the new 5-star Dendro character, and a Zhongli rerun. Now, I'm assuming that Collei is going to end up having her rates increased in both of their banners, so you can't really lose. It's kind of a win-win. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Tighnari guy, and I don't really care about Dendro myself, but I have a C6 Zhongli. I've used him for years, and frankly speaking, he is an absolutely ballin' character. But my point is that Collei is going to end up being in the Phase 1 banners. Now, something you guys gotta keep in mind with Collei is that she's going to end up using all new resources to level her up, and unfortunately, she is going to end up being in Phase 1 of the Sumeru update. So even if you end up getting her, it's gonna be very, very time gated. You're gonna have to spend lots and lots of resin if you wanna level her up right away, because she's going to end up taking the new Dendro gems, which we don't really know what drops those yet. She's going to end up taking new plants from the Sumeru region and new resources from enemies as well. Now, her weekly talent material apparently is going to end up being the Raiden Shogun one, which means that we can get a little bit prepared for her. So let's get into it. So obviously her normal attacks are going to make it so that her precision shot is going to end up doing Dendro damage, which Dendro ends up basically having a reaction of you hit him with Dendro and connect it with another element and you end up having more damage. I don't really know all of the ins and outs of all the Dendro stuff right now, but it's pretty cool that she's going to end up being a very, very accessible Dendro archer character. Her elemental skill is Floral Brush, which throws out a floral ring that deals 1 instance of Dendro damage to the target it comes into contact with. The floral ring will return after a set time, dealing Dendro damage once again. It's a boomerang. I don't know why they're calling it a ring, but it's a boomerang. Seems pretty cool. Seems like it can end up covering quite a bit of a field of an area, and the fact that it ends up coming back to you and still damaging any opponents that it ends up triggering means that you could throw it out and essentially move yourself to the side and then have it pull back and hit another group of enemies, which is pretty neat. And then her ultimate ability is Trump Card Kitty. So trusty something Anbar comes to save the day. It's going to end up being her little ally or mascot that's with her. So it throws the doll named Galleon Anbar, causing an explosion that deals area of effect Dendro damage, creating a Anbar zone. The Anbar will bounce around within this zone, dealing area of effect Dendro damage, which is pretty handy. It means that you could end up essentially using her ult, swapping to another character, and then just have constant reactions going on with the area of effect. Her passive abilities are going to be as follows. So, Gliding Champion of Sumeru. So it decreases gliding stamina consumption for you and all of your party members by 20%. It's not stackable with other characters that end up having the same benefit. Floral Sidewinder. If one of your party members has triggered Burning, Quicken, or any type of elemental reaction with Dendro specifically, it will grant the character the Sprout effect upon return, which will continuously deal Dendro damage equivalent to 40% of Collei's attack to nearby opponents for 3 seconds. If another Sprout effect is triggered during its initiate duration, the initial effect will be removed. Damage dealt by Sprout is considered elemental damage, so you could end up having elemental damage built up on her to end up having this ability work very, very well to just have, again, passive damage across the board. And then her other passive, the Languid Wood, I think that's how you pronounce that. When a character within the Anbar zone triggers any of the elemental reactions with Dendro, again, it's going to end up making the zone's duration increase by 1 second. A single Trump Card Kitty can be extended up to 3 seconds in total. So again, you would end up having her as, I guess, a support DPS, where you would end up using her abilities, swapping to your main, and then you end up having all of your reactions pander off of that. So now let's move on to her constellations. Her C1 makes it so that when in the party and not on the field, Collei's energy recharge is increased by 20%. Again, bolstering the fact that she's going to end up being that support DPS. Her C2 has a very lengthy description. So the passive talent, Floral Sidewinder, is changed to this. So the floral ring, which is the boomerang, will grant the character the sprout effect from the Sidewinder passive upon return, dealing 40% of Collei's attack as Dendro damage to nearby opponents for 3 seconds. So it basically just makes it so that throwing out her boomerang, period, not having any reactions required, will end up having the sprout effect take place. However, it goes on, from the moment of using Floral Brush to the moment when this instance of sprout effect ends, if any of your party members trigger any sort of Dendro reaction, the sprout effect is extended by 3 seconds. The sprout effect can only be extended this way once. If another sprout effect is triggered during its initial duration, the initial effect will actually be removed. Requires you to have unlocked the Floral Sidewinder passive, obviously. That's a pretty lengthy and weird description, but yeah, essentially it just makes it so that, like I said, you throw out your boomerang and now you're going to end up having the effect happen without having to have a Dendro reaction in order to initiate Sprout in the first place. Her C3 makes it so that her boomerang, her elemental E ability, is going to end up being increased by 3 levels. Her C4 makes it so that using Trump Card Kitty will increase all nearby characters' elemental mastery by 60 for 12 seconds, not including Collei herself. Trump Card Kitty, of course, is going to end up being her ultimate ability. And then her C5 increases her ult by 3 levels. And then her C6, when the floral ring, the boomerang, hits, it will create a miniature Anbar ring that will deal 200% of Collei's attack as Dendro damage. Each floral brush can only create one such miniature Anbar at a time, which is pretty cool. Anbar is going to end up being the doll she throws out at her ult. So essentially you are going to end up having them go all over the place with her E ability, with her ult ability, and it's going to be able to stack damage. It seems absolutely insane. You're just going to be throwing that doll all over the place, which is pretty dang cool, frankly speaking. Now, as far as a weapon is concerned, obviously it seems like her best weapon is going to end up being the new Dendro Bows. There's going to end up being, of course, the 5-star Dendro Bow, which I'm sorry, I don't know what the stats are of that right now or what any of the weapons are. But there's also going to end up being a new 4-star craftable set of Dendro items, which again, I'm sorry, I don't know what their stats are right now. They might actually be on Honey Impact, but I would just assume, based on how formulaic Genshin Impact is, that those are probably going to end up being her best in slot. Keep in mind, by the way, that the new 4-star craftable items, as far as I've heard, will actually not use any of the resources that we currently have, which means that the only way that you can craft them is by grinding out the new items within the Sumeru region. As for the artifact set that you're going to use on her, it's probably going to end up being the new one, which is Deepwood Memories, because the 2-piece set is going to end up increasing Dendro damage overall. And then the 4-piece set makes it so that after elemental skills or bursts hit opponents, which she's going to use both, the target's Dendro resistance will be decreased by 30% for 8 seconds. This effect can be triggered even if the equipping character is not on the field. Again, the fact that she is such a highly resilient support DPS means that this would probably end up being her absolute best in slot. So generally speaking, for Collei's artifact stats, you would want the sands to either be energy recharge or just focused on attack percentage or even HP. I don't know, that's most of all up to you, but I would probably build her towards the energy recharge or attack percentage. The goblet, you obviously want to have Dendro damage, and then her helmet would end up being either crit rate or crit damage. Now, as for how you would end up leveling up her talents, well, that entirely depends on how you want to end up playing her. Frankly speaking, if I was leveling her, I would probably end up working on her ultimate ability first, talent second, and base attacks last, if I would even bother with her base attacks. Obviously, that's going to end up increasing her charge attack damage, but her boomerang seems really cool as a, passive ability you would throw out every now and then. However, if you ended up having higher constellations on her, then I might prioritize her skill and then her ultimate ability. And I still would have a very low priority towards her base attack. Anyways, that's my 2 cents towards it, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you ended up enjoying today's video. And if you did, smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want, support the channel, and have a wonderful day.